You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Sunday pregame. It's me, Derek, and the one, the only, the Chris at Detroit Beastie over there on Twitter. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm great. All is well. Thanks for having me. It's no secret. It's week 18, the last game of the regular season, and a lot of us are very tired. I don't want to say under the weather, but we're just flat out exhausted. What a season it's been so far. We're not done, but here we are.
Yeah, that's one of those, I think they call this grind fatigue. That might be the best way to describe it. Just been grinding all season, and you see the finish line, and now it's time to just relax. Rest and relax. So
that's it.
It's always an interesting deal when you get to this time of the year and you kind of start looking back on some of the things that you got right, some of the things that you kind of didn't, and kind of encapsulate the whole thing. The season as a whole, to look at some of that. So always kind of interesting there, and that's kind of where I'm starting to get into is some of the reflective back on that, and look at the process and all of that, and see what may need to be done, what may not need to be done for next year. So very much a fun time of the year. But we do have a bunch of games out there, and there's some games that are absolutely have no relevancy, other than the fact that there's some NFL teams that are going to line up and play today. You have some coaches playing for their job still, but at this point, I think that the writing's already on the wall for those individuals. And you got a lot of teams that are fighting for playoff spots and or playoff seeding there, and teams that they're facing off against that, quite frankly, have zero desire to do anything other than just cross the finish line here. So,
absolutely,
rather interesting. Just kind of turn of events there. So, but let's go ahead and kind of get started, get into this, guys. Again, if you have any questions or comments or start sits, whatever, throw them out there. Let's talk about them. In fact, we got one coming in. Nate over there on YouTube asking Taysom Hill or Wilson. I've kind of gone back and forth myself in this one for some DFS type of lines here, and I've tended to lean towards Hill, but I want to get your opinion on this one. I want to know what the Beastie thinks.
Yeah, when you look at Taysom Hill, I believe, based on my notes, they're playing in Atlanta. Atlanta's 29th overall against opposing quarterbacks, and I assume he's talking about the New York Jets rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson here, goes to Buffalo. And Buffalo, that one's going to be a bloodbath. I don't want to bury the lead if that's one of the team or the games you want to talk about here, but Buffalo, they're going to play to win. I mean, it's them or New England that's going to take the AFC East here, so I believe it's an absolute bloodbath, but in a way, you could spin that to Wilson's advantage here. If Buffalo gets up 28-0 or 21-7 here, it only means that the Jets are going to have to throw the ball here, which might be conducive to Zach Wilson. But Buffalo, I believe they're actually in the top three, first or two or three here against opposing quarterbacks here. So to me, I'm going to fade Zach Wilson here. Give me the Taysom Hill movement here, because Atlanta 29th or 30th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Taysom is good for 40, 50 yards as a floor on the ground with his legs, not to mention, not a ton of yardage, $180, maybe, 220 as a ceiling passing here. But I love Taysom Hill over Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I think that I would agree with that one as well. I and even if it's Russell Wilson in that one as well, right? Like Wilson's kind of there's two of them out there, two starting quarterbacks that are going to be there. Even if it's Russell Wilson, I think I still like Taysom Hill in that matchup a little bit more. So, they've got a little bit easier matchup there, and I know that the way that most of the DFS sites have actually priced Taysom Hill a little bit higher than Russell Wilson has out there. So I like Taysom Hill kind of all around, regardless of whether you're talking Zach Wilson, Russell Wilson. So yeah, and Taysom Hill's also good. You already said he's good for about 40, 50 yards on the ground. He's usually good for about siphoning one of those touchdowns away from, like a guy like Alvin Kamara as well. So I think that he'll have the better floor, and the ceiling's probably pretty similar to the other two Wilsons as well there. So yeah, I like it. I like it. Let's go ahead and head on into your first matchup. Where do you want to take us today?
Let's go to Florida. Right now here in Michigan, it's like 10 degrees. It's just been bitterly cold. Like I went and got gas the other day, and the wind and the cold was burning my hands as I was at the gas pump. So I'd like to go to Jacksonville. The Colts come in to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts are giving Jacksonville 15 points. And aside from the Jets getting like 17 or 16, you just don't see point spreads like this in the NFL. Those are better suited for like college games where a team will get 28 points if it's like Ohio State versus Youngstown State here. So week 18, you follow the point spreads, you follow the over-unders, it'll paint a pretty good picture here. So the Colts, little odd fact, I know I'm not the original author of this comment here or this tweet, but if the Colts lose here, the Chargers at Vegas tonight, Sunday Night Football, both teams would get in with a tie here. So you don't want to see that coming, but I just don't see a case here where Indianapolis loses to Jacksonville based on the point spread. I'll start with my finishing thing here. I think the Colts win 35-7 or something wild like that, so they will never be in danger of losing this game. So in turn, in DFS formats, folks say, well, Jonathan Taylor, $10,200 on FanDuel, and on DraftKings, JT is $9,300. If the game is going to get that out of hand and they're just going to blow up Jacksonville, why would we spend that much money in DFS formats today on Jonathan Taylor? Well, you always have to look at if they get up, by that big of a lead, how are they going to get there in the first place? Who's going to have their hands in all that yardage and all those touchdowns? And Jonathan Taylor absolutely will be all over that in terms of his over bets and his touchdown, spreads in that. So to me, any and all Colts you're going to start here. I even think it's going to be a Nyheim Hines day from like a contrarian DFS move. Nyheim Hines, $5,100 on FanDuel, only $5,500 on DraftKings. I think we get to a point in this game, early on in the second half, if not to start the second half, where it's lights out for Jonathan Taylor. He's on the sideline. He can rest. He can be in peace as the Colts head to the playoffs here. But Nyheim Hines will get a majority of the run in the second half, whether it's in the passing work or whether it's on the ground here. And I know I'd be a fool if I didn't mention Marlon Mac here. A lot of folks think Marlon Mac's going to be like a big piece of the puzzle here. He's been in street clothes the last few weeks. I mean, that ship has sailed here. So, is Marlon Mac going to be active? I don't know. The inactives and everything comes out probably about 20 minutes ago. So I don't know if he's active. Maybe I can look that up when I shoot it back to you. But to me, it's all about Carson Wentz, Jonathan Taylor, and that's about it here. On the Jacksonville side of things, I mean, there's no way really anybody's left playing seasonal formats. If you are, I feel bad that your championship game is in week 18. But a little silver lining here for DFS purposes. I do think Dare OG, I'll just call him Ogunbowale. I think he sees a little bit of run. He's cheap enough, in DFS formats. Granted, the DVP here, Colts are 5th against opposing running backs here. And also, Laquan Treadwell. The Colts are 20th against opposing wide receivers. And with Laquan Treadwell, last I looked, I mean, he has, at least the last 5 or 6 weeks, he's got built in this kind of safe floor where you're looking at 5 or 6 targets, no less than like 50 or 60 yards. So it's a nice floor, in big time GPPs if you want salary relief, seeing how Treadwell only $5,300 on FanDuel and on DraftKings only $4,400. And the rest is, as they say, history. Take the Colts and the points, take the over in this one. I think the Colts can handle the over with themselves, sitting at 44 here. So bloodbath, Colts win big. Start your Indianapolis players.
Yeah, this was one of those that I had last week when the Jacksonville Jaguars took on the Patriots. I was calling for the under on that one just because I didn't see the fact that the Jaguars would put up enough points to be able to come close to that over, and the Patriots hit it by themselves. And I think that similar could happen to this on this one here as well. The over under is a kind of a friendly deal there, and it would be no surprise to me that the Colts could cover that themselves. So I'm kind of right there with you. I do like all of the Colts players in this one. I do kind of like sneaky play here. I do kind of like Marvin Jones in this one for Jacksonville side. The reason being, the reason being is he's got 4 receptions to make to get to a contract bonus and a multiplier in his contract, and incentive based deal there. So these guys know what's in their contracts and they know where their multipliers are. They know where their incentives are. So look for him to go out there. And I would imagine that he gets those 4 receptions quick in this game. And with Marvin Jones, typically if he's getting 4 receptions, they're down the field shots. So, it's not going to surprise me if I look up and I see Marvin Jones with a 4 for 45, 4 for 55 type of game in the first half here on this one, which would make him, with where he's at priced in a lot of DFS formats, make some sense for me in that one there. So just kind of something else to kind of keep an eye on is some of these guys that have some of the multipliers, some of the incentive-based things coming down here that are very attainable here in week 18. So some of the plays that I kind of like there looking at that is some of the guys that will get volume just based on some of those things because, the coaching staff wants to see these guys get it. The players obviously want to see you get it, and the teammates want to see him get it as well. So I like it though. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, Colts win big, and it's going to go exactly how we think it's going to go.
Yeah. Let's talk about another game that's got a lot of playoff implications and a lot of seeding implications. And that is, I'm going to take you to another Florida team down here. We're going to Miami. We're going further south. I like that you took us to Jacksonville. I want to go further south, getting a little bit warmer weather yet. So let's go ahead and head down to Miami, where the Dolphins are going to be taking on the New England Patriots. The over-under on that one's been looking at about 6 points when it's all said and done, and I don't know that game's going to be necessarily that close on this one. Miami's really not playing for anything other than the fact that they get the chance to try and play spoiler for the Patriots, because if the Dolphins win, the Patriots cannot win the division on this one, right? And so that's really about the only thing I can see incentive-wise for the Dolphins to go out there and play. They're 8-8, so potentially you can play for a winning record type of thing. But for the most part, I don't see this one playing out to the point where this is going to be an overly close matchup. I think that you're going to see New England come out and just kind of shut down the Miami offense here a little bit. Some other things to kind of keep an eye out for and keep a watch on. It does not look, from everything I've been seeing, it doesn't look like you're going to see a Damian Harris go in this one. So, Ramondre Stevenson off to the races. I think he'll have a very, very big game in this one. Not necessarily looking to play a whole lot of guys one way or another in this one. That's why I wanted to highlight this one, just from the standpoint, I don't see a lot of value out there. In a ton of different guys. Over under is going to be a 40.5. I think that you will probably get to the over on this one. Kind of feels somewhere in the neighborhood of the Patriots putting up 28 and the Dolphins putting up 14 type of thing for me on this one. So I like the Patriots. I like the over on this one. I do like Ramondre Stevenson, and Wilkerson is another guy to keep an eye out on for some DFS type of plays, things like that. He had a monster game last week, and we'll kind of ride that hot hand here. And he's got a price tag on FanDuel at least of around $5,300. So very very much in contention for some low cost value type of things there. And I know that he was a guy that you featured in your bottom of the barrel article earlier this week as well. So any other thoughts on this one?
No, yeah. When you look at Wilkerson, he's only $3,300 on DraftKings. It's just about as cheap as you can get. And when you're looking at a format like DraftKings, it's a PPR, full point per reception article. So, or not article, scoring format. So Wilkerson could have his hand in some things here. But with the New England Patriots, what I find strange is they're playing well. I mean, Mac Jones, rookie, has the Patriots back in the playoffs. They didn't even miss a beat without Tom Brady. But with the Patriots, it's a weird thing, and I'm thinking as you're talking here, they're playing well, they're in the playoffs, but it's not really a team that you look to stack in DFS formats or in seasonal formats. I find that really strange, and in turn, you can't really get a pulse on this team here. Aguilar, Hunter Henry, Ramondre Stevenson has been a nice play all year long, but the Miami Dolphins very stout up front, and they have Jerome Baker. I believe he's a Pro Bowl linebacker this season. They're 7 7th overall against opposing running backs here. So in seasonal formats, again, I hate to keep bringing that up, but if anybody's still playing, then yeah, you probably know what to do. It's week 18, who to start and who to play here. My final score is just basically on par with what you said. I think the Pats win 30-17, meaning the over would come in here. And you're looking at the Miami Dolphins. I believe it started as they were getting, about 5.5. It's been bumped up to a full 6 points here. And when you look at Tua or Duke or Gaskin has fallen, below the Mendoza line. And normally that kind of play, you're like, oh God, I can't believe this guy fell. And I don't want anything to do with Gaskin. He's fell down in between. He's at like $5,400 on FanDuel. He's only $4,800 on DraftKings. Nothing is doing there. Tua's in a tough spot. The Patriots first overall against opposing quarterbacks. So he's got to deal with that. The Patriots, that strong defensive front, and he's got to deal with his own coaching staff, who I don't even know if they believe in this kid. As so much is going to happen in Miami in the offseason here. So all hands off deck Miami. Although I said, yeah, they're going to score 14 or 17 points, but yeah, good luck trying to figure out where those points come from.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and take us to our next game here? What's our next destination?
Sure, we're going to go from Florida to Arizona. I'm going to keep it warm. If you notice, there's an MO here since it's so damn cold here out here in Michigan. This game, by all intents and purposes, there's no playoff implications for Seattle, but I believe Arizona they've already clinched a playoff spot. So to them, if they win and a couple other things happen, it's all about seeding. That's wild. They started 10-0, and now they're still dealing with fourth, or they could go as high as fourth, but they could go as low as the 6th seed here. So to me, they're playing this game for just a home playoff game. First round, boom, they'd host a game here in Arizona. But I think this one has all the makings of an absolute, light show, air show. Russell Wilson with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Last week, I believe I was very much in on Tyler Lockett, and it happened to be a DK Metcalf week. He scored 3 times, and they put up 50 points against my Lions. So I guess that's the move in DFS and seasonal formats. You can't be afraid to go back to the well. Yeah, Lockett burned me. Well, actually, DK burned me here, but I'm going to go back to that one again here. In my DFS notes, after I publish everything and as the week progresses, as I'm writing stuff down, I just build little trios of stacks and cores. Sometimes, like in this one, it'll be Russell Wilson, Metcalf, and DK, and then I'll throw in, Antoine Wesley. So it's a full game stack, but it's 3-1, and you go from there here. So on the Seattle Seahawks side of things, nothing to lose. Plus 5.5 points in Arizona. Is Pete Carroll on the hot seat? I don't know. And why would I say that? Because week 18, it's all about narratives and game scripts and, getting ahead and who's going to sit. And listen, Seattle's got nothing to lose, as I said. They're going to go full tilt here, and they're going to hang. I think probably you're looking at, if I'm looking at my notes, not a ton of points. 17 maybe, 21 max, and I think that's ambitious. I think it's all about the Arizona Cardinals. I think they hang 35 plus points in this one at home. Kyler Murray, Christian Kirk, AJ Green, and even Antoine Wesley, who's been a nice little find as of late, nice little DFS nugget as of late. Wesley only $5,400 on FanDuel, $4,100 on DraftKings. He's found himself comfy in bottom of the barrel the last few weeks here. So when you look at the running back position here with Arizona, that's the only thing up in the air. Chase Edmonds has already been, he's inactive this week. James Conner is questionable. Again, I haven't looked at the inactives and who's playing yet, although it's come out about 30 minutes ago. Regardless, I think Jonathan Ward is in play here as this game kind of progresses, as Arizona keeps hanging points here. Jonathan Ward, $4,600 on FanDuel, and on DraftKings, I think he's only like $3,400. So if you're going to play in these big multi-entry GPPs with, first place is like $500,000, but you got to beat 55,000 other people, Jonathan Ward warrants our attention. Cheap price tag, and it allows you to fit in a guy like Cooper Kupp, who's 10 grand, fit in a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who's $10,200. So it's just about finding those little pieces in games that don't matter as much to some folks. So to me, Arizona wins big, 38-14. So the over of 48 very much in play, and I have no issue taking Arizona minus the 5.5 points here.
Yeah. This is an interesting one, right? Because of the fact that you've got a divisional game here, Week 18. Seattle not really playing for anything here, but they do have the chance to play spoiler because of the way that some of those things are playing out there. If the Rams lose, the Cardinals win on this one. You could see the Cardinals win the NFC West here, so that division's still very much up for play. Just like we were just talking about the AFC East, very much up for play as well. So there's this game. This game could be very interesting to see. And it's one of those that the one thing that I kind of like too, when I was looking at some of these things, these divisions that are still up in the air, those teams are playing at the same time. So it's not one of those that, you had one team playing the early game, one team playing the late game. So if, the decisions have already been made about based on a team's win or loss on what another team's going to do. These teams have to go out there, and have to win to get in and win to kind of secure their spots on these things and win to be able to try and have a chance at the division type of thing. So well done as far as the scheduling goes on this one and getting those games moved to the same slot there. So I do. I'm right there with you. I think Arizona wins this one big. I think that the over is also in play on this one here as well. Very interested to see what happens with that Arizona running back room as well. And Antoine Wesley was a guy that I went through and plugged in on every one of my DFS lineups that I had submitted this week as well. A lot of that was, again, I read that on Bottom of the Barrel and then went back and looked at him and went, oh my gosh, this guy is really kind of taken off the last couple of weeks, had flown under my radar a little bit. So kudos to you for calling him out in Bottom of the Barrel and making me go back and look at that. So I like it. I like it a lot. Let's go ahead and head on over into the Jets and the Bills. I'm going to take us to Buffalo. I'm breaking the warm weather streak here, but this game deserves some attention here because there is a division title on the line here. And there's some very interesting things also at play here as well. The Bills are favored by 16. Big line in this one. The Jets have been not very good in several facets of the game. So it's interesting to see how this one is going to play out. I saw a tweet when I woke up this morning that the New England Patriots had their actual official account had tweeted out, "Let's go Jets." Which that's saying something when you've got some divisional rivals there. And that is a little bit of at times that has been a heated rivalry there. The over under 41.5 here. So I'm not going to lie. I could see Buffalo covering the 41.5 by themselves. Like, this is not going to surprise me if I look up and this one's an absolute bloodbath somewhere in the neighborhood of 40-10 type of thing. Like, this one just has the feeling that the Bills are going to come out, run away with this thing. And the fact that the New England Patriots are also playing at the same time there too. That one, even though this one I think is going to get out of hand, the Bills starters are going to play deeper than I think that they would otherwise, just to make sure that they can pull this game out. Some guys that are an interesting play. Dawson Knox, obviously at the tight end, he's been electric all year season long. That was one of those that I was looking in some DFS lineups, had to settle on Dawson Knox just because I couldn't get up there to fully play for a Gronk, who Gronk has several multipliers in play down there in Tampa Bay, right? He has like 4 receptions for 85 yards, adds like 500,000 onto his contract this year. So some big money at stake there. So if you can find a way to pay up off of Dawson Knox, get into Gronk, I like that move there. Devin Singletary, I see him having an absolute monster game in this one. The Jets have been absolutely awful against opposing running backs. The Bills have finally seemed to settle into who's our guy at running back here, and that has been Devin Singletary over the last several weeks. From weeks 14 through 17, 15 through 17, you saw Devin Singletary finish as the number 2 overall running back in fantasy points scored in half-point PPR scoring. So he's on what the kids call a heater, an old school NBA Jam hot streak type of thing here. So I like him at play here, and I like the Bills to run away and hide with this one, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Any other thoughts on this one?
Absolutely. To be honest with you, though, I think the Jets hang early on in this game. right? In the first quarter, they put up a fight. They're in Buffalo, nothing on the line. I think they show a little bit of fight here, but Buffalo is it's going to be too much. They're just too good. They're on the fast track to the playoffs here. I think the final is around 20. I think Buffalo hangs 31 or 28 points in comparison to the Jets, like 17. So who's to say, if you want to bet, I'd take the Jets and the points at least in the first quarter if you can get in on any of that action. I think they hang early on in this game, but Buffalo pulls away big time. And yeah, I'm with you. I love Devin Singletary in this one, and a Josh Allen. Josh Allen, we've been able to play him, as a one-off and or naked the whole season, and it's going to be no different here because Stephon Diggs going to get a little action. Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis, Dawson Knox, maybe Tommy Sweeney gets a little kind of pepper here. So to me, it's all about Josh Allen and Devin Singletary and that 1-2 combo in our DFS formats this weekend.
I like it. Where do you want to send us for the last game?
We're going to go to LA. We're going to keep our kind of sunny, nice weather kind of moving, and we get to go indoors kind of to SoFi Stadium, $5 billion stadium. It's brand new. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And kudos to Matthew Stafford. Finally, he's back in the playoffs. You love to see that. And I have no ill will. I've never had any ill will towards Matthew Stafford. He's a good man. I've said that in length, but he's out of Detroit now, and I'm sure him and his wife are like, hallelujah, praise God. The Lions won 2 games. It's 10 degrees there, and they're playing the Packers today, but here we are in sunny, beautiful LA, already clinched a spot in the playoffs. They got 12 wins. Everything is coming up roses for the Rams and Matthew Stafford here, but San Francisco is going to be a formidable match here. Like, again, NFC West matchup. I believe both teams are already in the playoffs. For the San Francisco 49ers, it has all dependent, on what the Seattle Seahawks and Arizona Cardinals do here in terms of seeding. But to me, the biggest question mark, Jimmy G. If he's active, how long is he going to play? Trey Lance gets a little bit of a juice in this one. But I think this game is going to be one of the more exciting ones on the slate here. As it opened, I believe San Francisco was getting 5 points. Right now, at this moment in time, San Francisco's only getting 3.5 points on the road in LA. And I think any way you slice it, the Rams are going to win this one. I have them winning 35-24. So you're looking at about 11 points. So it's safe to take the Rams minus the 3.5 points. On the Rams side of things, it's all about 2 things, actually. It's all about Cooper Kupp, 10 grand on FanDuel. And then on DraftKings, Cooper Kupp is $9,700. And on a slate like today, week 18, where we don't know a lot, right? We don't know who's playing what. At least we have kind of a consistent behavior of Cooper Kupp here. 10 grand is a whole heck of a lot of money on FanDuel, given the fact I believe you only have 60 grand to start with. So, Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor are going to cost you 20 grand. And so you're already behind the 8 ball here. But I think it makes sense. I have my eyes on Cam Akers, right? I mentioned him in bottom of the barrel last week, or no, it was actually this week here. He's $5,500 on FanDuel, $4,700 on DraftKings. Look, I'm not expecting Cam Akers to get 20 carries, right? It's not that kind of thing, but just get a little bit of pad-on-pad action as they head into the playoffs after just an unbelievably outstanding kind of recovery time where he put his head down and he worked hard and he got back on the field in less than 10 months, I believe, after tearing his Achilles heel here. So with the Rams, I have them, as I said, putting up 35 points, same cast of characters. I said it earlier on this morning in a live broadcast here. My core would be Stafford, Kupp, Odell Beckham, and Van Jefferson. And you might say, well, you got Stafford and all 3 wide receivers. Just build duplicate entries where you're moving these guys in and out. A lock would be Stafford and Cooper Kupp, and then make a lineup with Odell Beckham. Then run it back with the same thing. And instead, you put in Van Jefferson, Odell Beckham Jr., and then you're free and clear to mix and match as you see fit. On the San Francisco side of the ball here, Debo is a safe play. Brandon Ayuk is a safe play, and that's about it here. When week 18, when you're crunching numbers and you're using optimizers or you're using betting lines and stuff like that, a lot of weird stuff will pop up, right? And you're like, I've never heard of a guy named Jawan Jennings, or I've never heard of a guy like Trent Sherfield, and then boom, they start to poke their heads out in all your stuff. Pay attention to that, because computers computers and algorithms and the folks who punch all those numbers in, they know a little bit more than I do, at least. So when you see a guy like Jawan Jennings or Trent Sherfield, you got two options here. Do you want to, put those guys in your roster? Do you want to pay for them, although they're not much? Or do you just want to fade it and leave it alone? Because that paints a picture of, San Francisco is going to put up, as I said, 24 points. But with a guy like Trent and Jawan Jennings, that just tells me nobody's really sure where these points are going to go. So the safe move is Debo, Ayuk, and George Kittle, and leave the rest in the scrap heap here. So I love this game from a fan perspective. I think the Rams win, they cover, the over hits, and they win outright 35-24 here, Derek.
I like it, but I think I'm on a little bit different side of that coin there. The San Francisco 49ers have had and really Kyle Shanahan has had Sean McVay's number the last little bit here. And you and I were talking about this one just slightly before we came on air here. I like San Francisco to keep this game close on it. San Francisco has to win in order to clinch their playoff spot. Right now, the way that their playoff seeding fits, if they lose and the Saints win against Atlanta, the Niners are on the outside looking in on the playoff picture, and they won't be there. On the flip side, the Rams have to win in order to clinch the NFC West here. So this is a game that is very pivotal for the playoff picture, regardless of how you look at it. One, you've got the Niners on their side of it. If they win, they can get in as the 6th seed. If they lose and the Saints win, the Saints can get in to the playoff picture here as well. On the flip side, if the Rams lose and the Cardinals win, you can see the Arizona Cardinals win the division. So this game here there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of playoff implications on that. And those are the types of matchups that I really like finding guys into it, because you're going to see, and these two teams, again, a very hot, heated type of rivalry in the NFC West there as well. And so you've got a rivalry game. You've got the fact that there's a lot of implications on the line there. So I like all of these guys, and I think that you're going to see a lot of points be put up in this one here as well. But I do expect San Francisco to probably hang a little bit closer than what you're projecting. I think that you're probably going to still see the Rams win by probably 4, maybe 5, but I think it'll be a little bit closer. But I think it's not going to surprise me if we see a total in this one touch about 60 points when it's all said and done. I see a lot of points being scored in this one, and I like this one. Let's go ahead and head over to my last matchup, and we're not going to go we're going to go a little bit east of where you just took us, to the desert out there in Las Vegas, and a win and get in scenario for both of these teams. A couple of AFC West teams here playing with the Chargers and the Raiders, and both of them sitting 9-7. Very rarely do you see it where it's a win and get in where two teams are playing each other in the final week of the season, but that's what we have here. And you mentioned it earlier. I did see that out there as well, that if the Colts lose, these two teams tie, they both get in. So an interesting type of deal there, but the Chargers favored by 3 in this one. And this one here, I have a feeling that we're going to see a absolute shootout in the desert. Again, another game that's not going to surprise me when we look up and see a 60-point game type of total line on this one. Really, I think that you're going to see the Chargers ultimately win this one. I'm looking for very big days out of Herbert, out of Allen, out of Eckler. All of those guys carrying very high price tags as far as your DFS type of lineups go. Cost prohibitive maybe as far as putting a stack together with those guys. But on the flip side, Derek Carr's been playing lights out, and I do see him having a pretty big game here as well. Ultimately, I think that you're going to see this one probably play out pretty close to about 33-30, 34-31, somewhere kind of right in that neighborhood, with the Chargers ultimately winning this one. But this one's going to be a very, very fun game to watch, I do believe, and an absolute treat, I think, that we're going to get to finish off the NFL regular season here on Sunday Night Football. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I'm with you. This game is going to be great. I have the Chargers winning 34-27 here. It's just going to be nonstop action. Even if the Colts lose, these two teams will never in the history of football.
They don't like each other.
Yeah, I know. Never in the history of football will they look at each other and go, well, if we tie, we're both in. Let's just kneel down. I can't even imagine. Social media would absolutely just implode. It would go nuclear if that happened here. So to me, you could stack this game outright. And I know Chargers Raiders at Vegas. They're not on the main slate this afternoon, which locks at 1 p.m., but there's a good single game slate to be played here. And personally, I'm taking the night off here. I'm not playing any single entry. I'm not making any bets. I want to rest and relax and enjoy this one. Herbert versus Carr. I mean, I know who would have thought that would ever be in the marquee. Herbert's a superstar, and Carr just continues to be, a solid, real life football player, and people discount him, and you move on and you go from there. So then the secondary options, Eckler or Guyton, against Jacobs or Zay Jones, who I really like here tonight. So to me, rest, relax, watch this one. To be honest, it could go either way. 34-27. That's a difference of 7 points. So who's to say, late in the game here, Vegas is driving and moving the ball and they come up short, or do they put one in and it's 34-34 and we go to overtime? And this one is, without a doubt, I don't even have to say it, this is a playoff game for both teams. You win and you move on. If you lose, boom, you go home, your season's over with. So as you said, we're in for a real treat here with this one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see this one coming down to whoever has the ball last is gonna pull this one out. Like it's going to be a fun one. I like it. Chris, any other thoughts today before we call it a day?
No, I mean, it's week 18. We think we know what's going to happen, but more times than not, things are going to happen, which we didn't even know. So if you're building your DFS lines or you're making some bets today, get out of your comfort zone, right? If you've been comfortable all the way up to this point, throw caution to the wind. What's the worst that could happen? You lose a couple bucks, gamble and bet responsibly within your means, but get out of your comfort zone. Nothing really grows in comfort. And to make anybody feel better if they're watching this, look, some of my biggest failures have led to my biggest and best breakthroughs here. So do as you go, do as you feel here, and just throw caution to the wind and just stack teams and third, fourth string running backs, and we'll see what we get. That's what week 18 is in a nutshell. Most cases, it's like, preseason game, right? Kind of, with preseason with playoff implications. Doesn't make sense, but I said it. I'm not going to backtrack on it now, Derek. Thanks for having me.
I like it. I'm all in on that thought, because there's several of these games that you're going to see guys play one or two snaps. First series, there'll be the center Kelsey from the Eagles last night go out there, take a ceremonial snap so he can keep a starting streak alive, and then sits the rest of the game. Right? Like, there's a lot of these things that are going to come to play, and we're going to see a lot of that come through. So I know exactly what you mean, say in the preseason, but postseason implications. I love it. I love that turn of phrase. So. And Chris, we've absolutely appreciated having you on every single week. Guys, you can find Chris at Twitter, at Detroit Beastie. Great follow. Make sure that you're doing that. He's got a ton of stuff coming out there, very positive in the space as well. So I always enjoy seeing those tweets come across my timeline from the Beastie, and you can find his bottom of the barrel. I know I referenced it a couple of times there, and definitely look towards it when I was building out some of my own DFS lineups this week. It's over at Team Rise or Fall. You can also find a link to Team Rise or Fall with Chris's stuff over there in the description and in the show notes. So Chris, thanks for joining us. It's been a blast. Absolutely. And he's Chris. I'm Derek. We're gonna have a good one, and we'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Be safe.